Now, hundreds of sub-postmasters have reiterated calls for compensation schemes to be sped up during an explosive day of evidence at the Post Office inquiry.
Yeah, the slow pace at which postmasters are receiving payments is said to have been overshadowed, though, by a bitter row between the former Post Office chairman, Henry Staunton, and the business secretary, Kemi Badenoch.
Mr Staunton has claimed he was told to delay payouts to sub-postmasters who were wrongly prosecuted, something he reiterated under oath yesterday.
Nick Reed, in his letter to me last week, says, "I've personally never been instructed to delay on compensation, nor have any of my leadership team to my knowledge." It sounds like he can write that because of the conversation that you had with him after your conversation with Sarah Number.
He can write that because I said to him, we're not going to do anything that's not the morally right decision of continuing to pay compensation. And I did say to him, and if anything, we should accelerate it.
So you stand by
absolutely
what you've said in public about the message you received from a senior civil servant that compensation payments should be slowed down to minimise the financial liability?
Yes, I do.
Well, afterwards, Alan Bates, who you'll know from the ITV drama, his case was dramatised, wasn't it? Well, he said outside the inquiry, in real life, that row we've just heard is a distraction. And he emphasised that the important thing was to keep the focus on victims getting paid.
We can speak
We keep
now.
coming back to this time after time after time. Pay people. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of other things are brought up, thrown up all the time. But just get on and pay people. Everyone keeps referring to the scheme, understandably, as a compensation scheme. But it's not, it's financial redress. This is money these people are actually owed. And they've been owed it for years. Compensation sounds it's like something at the benefit at the whim of government and all the rest of it. Let's get it right and let's really push forward on that aspect of it.
Well, let's talk now to another former sub-postmaster, Tim Brentnall, who also gave evidence to the inquiry yesterday. Having listened to all of that, I mean, we spoke to you just a couple of days ago, you've already turned down a sum of money, £600,000, which, as we discussed, sounds like a big number, but actually, considering what happened to you and when it happened, probably isn't enough. It's not a big number. Do you feel reassured or more concerned, having heard the evidence?
Not reassured, certainly, and no more concerned than I was previously. Yeah, you're right.
Frustrated?
Frustrated is the right word. My conviction was quashed in 2021, and I've had to build my claim with my legal team for the last 3 years because Post Office have insisted that we evidence every kind of loss that we're claiming for. I was in my late 20s when I was prosecuted, so I had perhaps 40 years of business ahead of me. So, yeah, £600,000 is an awful lot of money to anybody. But when you've had your claim assessed by forensic accountants and they come back with a figure that greatly exceeds that, I don't see why anybody should have to settle for less than it's cost them.
Really interesting when you're talking about what you have to evidence and how you have to put in this claim. Just talk us through, we probably can't deal with the technicalities of it, but what sort of paperwork are we talking about here? What do you have to provide?
Well, that's the really hard thing, because this happened to me 14 years ago. To other people, it's 25 years ago. I know at one point, after the second site mediation scheme was kicked out by the Post Office in 2015, I had a little bit of... I suppose you could call it an episode, and threw a load of stuff away because you just think you're never going to get anywhere. And now the Post Office, who have been so bad with disclosure about everything and probably hold a lot of information themselves still, are insisting that we have to evidence it.
So what sort of stuff are we talking about? Like bank statements?
Bank statements, pay slips, business accounts, other stuff going forwards for future loss of earnings. They've made us provide... business plans for perhaps expansion ideas or diversification, that we had more information than I ever had to provide to a bank to get a business loan.
So what sort of a challenge is that for you? You say you chucked away some of the paperwork. You're going back to the banks, are you, and having to try and get print-ups and PDFs and all that?
Chasing things around all the time, and every time the legal team put things to the Post Office, they come back and ask for more.
The emotional toll of that on you must still be huge.
Yeah, because when I was part of the 555 with Alan, and when we got that over the line or had to settle with them, and people insisted to us that it was a win, even though it didn't feel like it, you think at that point, OK, well, things might change going forward, and nothing does. It then takes 2 years to get my conviction quashed. When that happens, it was a brilliant day, and other people have said if you could bottle the emotions that you had on that day, it would be brilliant. But again, 3 years later, nothing, on the ground for us, nothing's changed.
So a brilliant day then to clear your name, but that was, now you know, just the start of the next chapter.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because we've had to spend all this time and put all this effort and emotion into evidence in this. When the government came out at the end of last year and offered this £600,000 payment, that's just as simple as signing a piece of paper. All the people, rightly, that are going to have their convictions quashed now going forwards, can step into that and walk away with that. Now, if your claim was judged less than that, obviously it's a very easy thing to do. But the people, the 100 of us that have had our convictions quashed and been battling for the last 3 years, we need some sort of speed to this. My partner's due to have her first baby in June. I don't want to be thinking about the post office when that happens. We want to be able to move on with our lives.
If you look at the front pages of the papers this morning, the telly news last night, lots of it is focusing on that row between Staunton and Brentnall and the politics at the top of the post office and the top of the government. Meanwhile, where you sit, literally, what's all that like to experience? Yeah,
well, we've known how bad the post office have behaved towards us, and they're now showing publicly that they can't manage themselves. So how can they look after us?
But is that stuff relevant to you?
No, I mean people insist that the accountability is very important, and it is. But all of this stuff is secondary. We all of us need to be put in the position that we should be, and then the accountability or the infighting can certainly sort itself out after that.
How do you cope with this level of frustration?
It's something that you get used to, and it's gone on for over a decade. You learn that sort of anger or allowing things to build up doesn't get you anywhere. It only affects you and the people closest to you. So you just try and take a step back, and it's just learning how to wait.
Yeah. Well, look, Tim Brentnall, thank you so much for coming in again and bringing us up to date, albeit with that weight. And June, the baby, yes?
Yeah, June, late June.
Looking forward to that?
Yes.
A whole new challenge.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Thank you for coming in, Tim.
Thank you.